This is Dave with Fry and Bacon Studios, and we're going to look at another Gamesalad tutorial here. We're going to look at code and the order in which we stack our code. Now let's look and see that I've created just a couple of generic type of attributes that are commonly used. And then we're going to go in and look at these in play and how we should properly stack them in Gamesalad in our actors. The trick to building very efficient and properly firing code is to understand how code is read inside an actor. All code in Gamesalad is read in sequential order starting from top to the bottom. So therefore the code at the top is always the first to scan in the scan loops. This is based on the frames per second, how many times your code is scanned. So if you have a good frame rate of 60 frames per second, that means that your code will be scanned 60 times. Now for good game response, it's always best to put your most demanding behaviors at the top of the list. This makes sure that they fire in the proper time. And since these that we're going to show a constraint attribute to an external attribute tracking an actor's X and Y position is something that we really need to have accurate, and that's constantly being looked at, let's say, by other enemy actors. So it's important these are so demanding that they be at the top of the code scan. Now the other thing that I would recommend in building detailed code is when you're stacking inside, let's go back and look at our attributes. We can see that in this form here, that this also is the way the code is going to scan. So you see I have a boolean and I have two reals. Now on the player's X is before the player's Y in this list. So this will be scanned this way. So in our actors, to really build great optimized code, make sure you stack these two in the same order they are in the attributes palette. This will make sure that they're in sync in the scanning, so that as over there we saw X was first, it will be the first to be scanned on that side. And so we should have X here at the top. That way it keeps everything in line and makes sure nothing misfires or misses anything. This is crucial to building highly optimized code in Gamesalad. The next demanding thing that we're going to look at is the collide behavior. Because in most games, we rely on this behavior to keep our actors inside constrained areas or to understand how they bounce or how they're affected by other things in the environment. This also should be at the top of the code, since it's a very demanding physics behavior, and also because collides happen so often, they should be on the top. This way your actor doesn't skip a collide or overlap during a collide. So if you're not doing constraints, then I would recommend that this behavior be at the very top of your code. Now let's go down and look at some of the rules that I have set up here to kind of understand how events should be triggered and happen. Here I have a rule that says when the actor overlaps or collides with another actor, I want to change an attribute to true. And then I have another rule down here that says when that's true, then I'm going to change an image and accelerate and then have some particles. So in this example, we would be, say, an actor goes over a boost. Let's say actor 2 was some kind of a thing when it crosses over it. We wanted to have a boost jet stream coming out of the back. So the first thing that we'd want to do is tell it that we want the overlap and collide to happen, because that's the trigger for when these other things will happen. So we wouldn't want this rule above that rule. We need to keep everything in the order or the sequence in which they're supposed to happen. So in this we would say the first thing that's going to happen is that the overlap and collide is going to happen. Then we're going to change an attribute to true. When this attribute is changed to true, we'll say we want to change the image of the spaceship to something different that would indicate that it's got the boost. Then we want it to accelerate at a different speed or to a different location. And then we would want after that happens, we would want a particle stream to come out showing the boost engine. So as you could see, these events all happen in the order that we want them to. If we started putting the particles up here first before the image change or before the acceleration change, that would look weird in our game and something wouldn't look right. The events wouldn't be really fine-tuned and they really wouldn't look that great to the eye. This is the way you begin to understand how we order code in Gamesalad. Now, one of the key things in ordering your code in Gamesalad is to really plan out your code. That means to sketch out your game. You'll see a lot of the pro developers who have been developing on Gamesalad for a long time. They sit down like myself and we write out our code almost like you would write out an outline for a speech or a paper to tell us how things are going to be invented, so that when we plan our code, we know that it's going to be all in the proper order and we can plan ahead for how we want to do things and optimizing them. This is the key to really building great code that runs at a high level. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of thinking and a lot of designing to really get your code optimized, because I think what a lot of people do is they just keep layering code upon code upon code. They find out different ways to do different things, but they don't ever really look at how these things can be merged or streamlined or paralleled to refine their code. Refining code really takes a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of planning and patience, as a lot of us want to just jump into our game design and start making games without actually take the time to plan out their code. So I hope this helps you understand the importance of planning out your code and the sequence of events in which things happen. When you get into gray areas of when something might trigger or when it might not, it's always best to evaluate it by the performance of your game and trying to move things around a little bit to see which way performs better. But for the black and white areas, as I've shown you today, it's always good to stick with these methods of sequential series ordering of events, and that will make your game run smoother and more efficient. This is Fry and Bacon Studios with another Gamesalad tutorial. I'll see you in the next video.